Hello everyone, welcome back to another Maya 2015 tutorial. We've got our airplane project we've been working on for a while. It's already all done modeled. It's been textured. All we need to do is create a little rig for this guy so we can start animating. So the kind of rig that I'm going to have us build is a little bit overkill, but it's going to get you guys' feet wet for doing bigger control rigs for other projects. Also, we're going to use joints to do the rigging. And the reason why we're going to do that is because for us to be able to take these kinds of models and bring them into a game engine, the only kind of animation that transfers outside of Maya to other packages is joint information. So that actually has to be created for us to be able to take this animated airplane and have it animated inside of a game engine like Unity. So yes, you can animate within Maya something simple like this without actually using a bone control rig. But we're going to go ahead and create a full control rig to make sure that this is usable not just inside of Maya and for more than one kind of use. So plus it's just good education going forward onto other projects. So let's go ahead and just get started here. We're going to create ourselves a joint system to control this main airplane here, and to do that you're going to need to be inside your animation drop downs here, and we're going to go to skeleton, and there's our joint tool right there. That's what we're going to use to create our bone rig. And now we're going to go to our 4 panel here, and we're going to go from the side view, and we are going to put a single joint right here in the center. Now it doesn't really matter where in the center this is. It can be anywhere inside the fuselage, and the reason being is that it's only one joint, meaning all the influence from the skinning process of binding this airplane to our joint is just going to be on the single joint, so it's not going to be spread out at all. So this will work just fine. If you happen to collect more than once, let's say you had 1, 2, 3, you'll start seeing these arrows and the joints kind of pointing down this joint chain. That is actually how you end up creating a joint rig for actual humanoid type character, but we don't actually need it for this particular project, so single joints only. Okay, so let's go ahead and create one more joint. We're going to put this one inside the propeller. And this one joint here, let's say this is a little bit small. If I want it to be bigger, it's very easy to change the radius of this joint. And if you look over here in the channel box on the right, it says radius 0.663. If we want that to be bigger, just put in a value of like 3. And all of a sudden you have a much bigger joint and easier to click on and work with. Also, let's go ahead and name this guy. We're going to call it BN, which is a standard naming convention for a lot of studios. JN is another one, but BN is the one I was taught, so that's the one I'm going with. BN airplane main. Okay, excellent. All right, so now I need to create one more joint. This one's going to be for my propeller. So I'm going to create one, and I'm going to put it right here in the front. I'll hit enter to complete it, and I'm going to change the radius to 3 like I did for the other one. I'm going to call this one BN propeller. Okay, I spelled that one wrong. BN propeller. Okay, there we go. All right, so I have my 2 joints. That's all I'm going to need for this project. Don't parent these 2 joints to each other, otherwise you'll have one joint affecting the other, and that's not what we're after. Okay, we have our 2 joints. We're going to focus on our fuselage joint first. We're going to skin the entire airplane here, not the propeller, to this one joint. Hang on one second. These are all locked, so let's go ahead and unlock selected. Alright, so now to skin this geometry to this joint, I'm going to select the geometry first. Then I will shift select this joint here. Then I'm going to go to skin, smooth bind. Okay, so now if I translate this joint up and down or rotate it side to side, it controls my fuselage and airplane absolutely. Okay, now I'm going to deal with the propeller separately. That's going to be completely different. First thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to create a control rig to control this BN airplane main joint that I just skinned in. So to do that, I'm going to go to Create, NURBS Primitives, Circle. And that kind of just dropped it right inside the fuselage, so I'm going to have to scale this up quite a bit. There we go, that's better. Okay, so now I have my first control. And the reason why we use NURBS curves for doing controls is because they don't render. So you can control your rig. It's very easy to select. So instead of having to try to select this joint on the inside, I can just select this control curve on the outside and controls my model. And they don't render. So that's the best part about them. Okay, because you can easily use a different object. If I was to want to have this propeller be a control curve, I can lead this whole airplane around by the propeller and have that control my joints. But that's not what I want. I want something that is not renderable, not visible. Okay, so I'm going to select, I have my control curve selected right now. I'm going to change the name of this to CTRL, which is the naming convention for control. I'm going to call this one main. Alright, now I'm going to briefly go over the constraint menu and then I'll tell you what we're going to do with constraints. We're going to go to our constraint drop downs here, and we have 5 main constraints that we use. We have point, which is a translate or move constraint. We have aim, which basically lets your control be targeted to an object. We have orient, which controls the rotate values of your object. We have scale, which controls the scale, obviously. And then we have parent, which does a combination between orient and point, just both of them together. And it lets you basically apply a constraint that lets you translate or rotate your joint wherever you want. So basically, those 2 constraints for the price of 1. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do an actual parent constraint from this control onto this fuselage joint. So wherever we move or rotate our joint, our control, it will do the same to our airplane. Okay, so I'm going to select my control curve, shift select this joint in the center here, go to constrain. I'm going to open the submenu for parent. So see what the default settings for parent constraints has maintain offsets on. You want to make sure this is on. If you create a control curve and you do a parent constraint and your model jumps to some different position or rotation, maintain offsets is probably not on, so it's probably trying to match the position and rotation of the curve with the object that's being constrained. So once this is applied, we'll hit apply, you'll see that rotate and translate on the joint now has this blue in it, and that tells you that there's a constraint constraining this rotate and translate. Okay, let's close this. Now, word of warning, we're not going to animate this joint, we're going to animate the control curve. If you animate the joint when you create the keyframes for them, it will break the control or the constraint here. These will turn kind of like a lime green color and they won't work anymore. So we're going to now exit out of our joint. We're going to go to our control curve. Now let's see here. If we translate up, our airplane goes up. If we rotate, our airplane rotates. Perfect. Okay. Let's address our propeller here now. Now our propeller is going to be a little bit of a different animal. Simple, but still a little bit different. We're going to create a control curve for it first. So let's go to Create, NURBS Primitives, Circle. Okay. And we'll just translate that forward till it's in front of propeller. Let's go ahead and rotate it. Looks like 90 degrees in X. Okay. Now, aesthetically, I like to have things that are going to rotate through control vertex. We're going to change the shape of it so when it rotates, I can see that information. Okay, so I'll scale this together. Good. Go to object mode. So this way, as I'm rotating, I can see that my control is rotating, and then the object that's rotating will be rotating with it. It won't just look like a circle just sitting there and something behind it is rotating. I get 2 different pieces of visual information. Okay, so I'm going to call this one Control CTRL Propeller. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to isolate these guys. I'm going to do my 4-panel view, but I'm going to select them in this view before I go there. So I want this one. I want to shift select my joint and my propeller. These are locked too. Let's make sure these are unlocked. There we go. Alright, so I have all three objects. I'm going to go to my 4 panel. From the front view here, I'm going to isolate them. Now the idea here, and this is the reason why it's a little bit more tricky, is that I need to make sure that this joint is directly on the center vertex of my propeller, because if it's not, then when this joint starts to rotate, it's going to use this pivot point of the joint instead of the propeller, and it will make to where it kind of oscillates, kind of not in a perfect circle. It'll kind of just it'll look really funny when it's rotating. It won't actually be a perfect smooth rotation. So I need to move this joint to this vertex center. So I'm going to turn on my translate. So you can see this little box here. If you hold down V, this little box here turns into a little circle that tells you you're in vertex snapping mode. Now if you hold down middle mouse button on top of this vertex, it'll let you kind of pop this joint wherever you want, but it'll be snapping to the vertexes that are closest to it. And this middle vertex is the one I want, the one that goes across the center here. That looks like the center one. Now, I also have this control curve over here, and if you look at the center of the control curve, it's way up here. Same thing as the joint. Now, if I was to constrain this joint based off of this control curve, it'll be using this pivot point up here, and this propeller will be circulating around like that. So that's also not what I'm after. So I need to move this control curve down where this joint is. So I'll hold down V, middle mouse button, and just kind of start popping this down until it snaps right at the center of my propeller. Okay. Okay, so I'm all done here. I'm going to go ahead and pop out of this view, back in my perspective. Now, something is worth noting. Now, it didn't matter on my main control because they were all 0, 0, 0. That's all I did is scale this guy up. But this guy was not at the origin of the world. This guy was moved forward. So I want 0 values over here. And the reason why I want that is because if I move this back to the origin, I want it to be in the same starting position if I start the animation over. So I'm going to go to modify freeze transforms. That zeroes out all of the channels here. So now, as far as this control curve is concerned, this is the world origin, and if I zero out my values over here, this is where it'll come, which is perfect. That's what I want. Okay. Alright, so now I need to constrain this joint. So to do that, all I'm going to do is I have the control already selected. I'll shift select the joint, and I'll go to constrain, parent constraint. Okay, so now when it translates forward, it will translate forward. You need to make sure you test this, you select this guy. If you have them both selected, you'll get double transformations. Just the control curve. So translate forward. If I rotate it, you can see the joint's rotating. Okay, but the joint isn't skinned to the geometry yet, so I need to actually skin this propeller in. So I'm going to select the propeller, shift select the joint, and go to skin, smooth bind. So now when I take the control and I rotate it, it rotates the joint perfectly, right on the center axis, just like I wanted it. Now, if I select my airplane now and I translate it forward, I still am presented with the problem of the propeller not coming with it. Now to solve that problem, is all I need to do is select the control curve for the propeller and then shift select the control curve for the actual airplane and hit P for parent. So child first, parent second. So now that I select the main control, you can see that the propeller control is now also selected. So now if I translate the propeller or the main control forward, the propeller goes forward as well. Perfect. So now if I rotate this propeller, it rotates all by itself, but it is being driven around by its parent. Alright, so that's good. Last thing I'm going to address, because when I have my airplane here, I want to have the propeller spin, but I don't want to have to put in a value of like 50,000 to like be able to match all those rotations that a propeller is going to get by going round and round and round a whole bunch of times. So what we're going to do is we're going to use something called pre and post infinity. And to do that, on my control curve here on frame 1, so I move my time slider frame 1, I'll put in a value, or I'll hit S so I can keyframe it. And I'll go up to, let's say, frame 20. And I'm going to put in a value of Let's see here, where are we rotating? In the Z, I'll put in a value of 1080. Okay, and hit S. And now between frame 1 and frame 20, this airplane will do a 1080. Okay, cool. Might be a little bit, maybe I need to go up to 30 frames. Let's go up to 30. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now let's address the problem of how this isn't going. Yeah, that looks better. I wanted to actually go with 40. So now let's address the problem of how do we get this propeller to continuously go all the way through my animation without having to put a higher rotation value. So let's go into our graph editor, and which is this icon right here, and we'll address that issue. So right now, if you look at the rotate Z, you can see that we got this curve just kind of jumping up straight up here. So let's go ahead and hit F, and that will frame in our curve. Now I don't want to do this Maya's interpolation of ease in, ease out. I want this to be linear, so I want it to be a straight line. So if we click this icon right here, it says linear tangents, that will straighten out this line. So it just continuously goes at the same speed all the way through. Perfect. Okay, so now we get to also apply our pre and post infinities. So we go to curves, pre-infinity, cycle with offset. Again, curves, post-infinity, cycle with offset. So pre-infinity is obviously before this curve starts. If I was to back this animation up, it would still be going rotation at the same speed. And post means that anywhere after this target animation, it will also give me post-infinity, or I'll just continue rotating. So let's go ahead and test this out. So starting on frame 1, I can hit play, goes up to frame 40, and it continuously rotates. Perfect. Okay, and if I was to want to test out the animation, I can, on frame 1, enter an S, go to frame 35, have it translate forward, hit S, and on frame 50, have it go forward and a little bit up. And by frame 70, have it just way up. Okay. And this is going to have to be a lot bigger for it to read visually. Okay. So let's test it out, see how it looks. Alright. So there it is, it's going forward, taking off, going up, and it just kind of stops up there. So that's just scrubbing. Let's see what it looks like when I play it. Alright. Now, this whole jerking you're seeing of it, how it looks like it's going fast and then slow, those are all things that you have to fix visually with the keyframes. So that has to do with where the takeoff spots are. Some of these might be a little too close and it's just causing a little bit of a jerky takeoff. Maybe you want to move these out just a little bit. So you can just keep testing this until it looks right. This one here looks like, it needs to be a little further out for it to stay natural looking. And you just kind of have to go back and forth until you get the actual good look you're after. So this is still a little bit too much. Go back another 5 frames. Let's test that. There you go. And this is we can do much more advanced animations, but for right now I'm going to go ahead and stay where I'm at right now. This gets you guys control rig built, gives you something to play with. In the next lesson I'm going to show you guys how to build the terrain and sky dome for this, and then we'll do some more advanced animations after that. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this got you with an airplane with a full control rig so you guys can start animating. And I'll see you guys in the next lesson, and we'll continue with building this environment for this airplane. All right, thanks for watching.